0600 hours, Tucson, Arizona. The digital trace vanished into the desert air. One cellular ping, 200 miles from the extraction zone, and then total silence. 84-year-old Nancy Guthrie was gone. This was not some random home invasion. This was a surgical strike. The radar screens inside the intelligence community erupted. They were looking at a ghost. Run the numbers with me. 4 critical days. That is exactly how long local authorities locked the federal agents out of the crime scene. 96 hours of lost time in an operation where survival drops to 0. After 48 hours, the chances of recovery plummet. The kidnappers demanded $6 million in untraceable Bitcoin. They left her essential heart medication sitting untouched on the kitchen counter. A $6 million ransom for an elderly woman without her life-saving pills. The math simply does not add up for a standard criminal shakedown. Criminals want cash. They need the hostage alive to collect it. But here is what nobody tells you. This was never about the money. This was a message. And that was the moment everything changed. The target was the mother of Savannah Guthrie. She is the anchor of a major American news network, a high-profile family. You must understand the geopolitical stakes unfolding here. This is not just a crime story. This is a direct assault on American sovereignty. When foreign adversaries want to test a nation, they do not start with a nuclear launch. They start in the shadows. They probe the perimeter. They see how fast federal agencies respond to a high-value target disappearing from American soil. They test the domestic security apparatus. And the results of this test are absolutely terrifying. For 4 days, the Bureau was blind. Director Kash Patel was kept entirely in the dark. Think about that for a second. The most powerful law enforcement agency on the planet was paralyzed by local jurisdictional red tape. If foreign intelligence orchestrated this, they just proved they can operate freely inside the United States for 96 hours before the federal government even opens a file. 96 hours is enough time to smuggle an operative across 3 international borders. It is enough time to disappear a high-value target forever. What they did not know was that Silicon Valley was about to enter the chat immediately. The local police thought the evidence was permanently destroyed. The kidnapper approached the Tucson home and disabled the doorbell camera. The authorities checked the cloud storage. Nothing. The family did not have an active subscription. The footage was gone, or so the operatives thought. But look closer at the digital architecture. The Bureau partnered directly with Google engineers. They bypassed the consumer cloud entirely. They dove into the archived back-end data of the hardware itself. Using advanced neural network super-resolution, they pulled the ghost out of the machine. They recovered the deleted video from the hidden digital vault. The footage shows a masked individual approaching the front door. He had a handgun tucked into his pants. He moved with tactical precision. He knew exactly where the camera was. He knew exactly how to disable it. But the super-resolution technology caught his biometric signature. It caught his gait. It caught his physical dimensions. But this was not the mastermind. Criminal profilers and federal investigators know the truth. This physical kidnapper was a local operative, a pawn, a disposable asset who has likely already fled the country or been quietly eliminated. He was hired by an international puppet master. And this is where the situation becomes apocalyptic. The investigation coincides with severe internal disruptions inside the Bureau. Director Kash Patel is reportedly in absolute panic mode. He recently fired a dozen elite agents from CI-12. That is the highly classified Washington-based unit specifically tasked with tracking foreign spies operating on American soil. Why would you gut your premier counterintelligence unit during the most sensitive VIP kidnapping in modern history? Because the call is coming from inside the house. Patel ordered polygraph tests for over 24 current and former security detail members. He is desperately hunting leakers. He is trying to root out internal spies amid this crisis. Run the numbers again. 12 elite spy hunters fired. Dozens of security personnel strapped to polygraph machines. A $50,000 federal reward completely ignored. A $6 million ransom deadline blown. On May 10th at 1700 hours local time, the second ransom deadline expired. The specified cryptocurrency wallet remained completely empty. 0 transactions. 0 communication. The kidnappers went totally dark. If this was a financial play, they would negotiate. They would send proof of life. They would demand a partial payment. But they did absolutely nothing today. What they did not do tells you exactly who they actually are. This bears the undeniable signature of foreign state intelligence, the Russian SVR or the Chinese Ministry of State Security. They do not need $6 million. They have sovereign wealth funds. They need leverage. They need to map the response times of the American security state. Think about the strategic implications. Savannah Guthrie officially returned to her broadcast on May 11th after a 2-month leave of absence. The anchor of a major American news network was forced off the air by an invisible enemy. It is shocking. The psychological impact on the American public is exactly what foreign adversaries want. They want to show that nobody is safe. Not politicians, not journalists, not their families. If they can extract an 84-year-old woman from a secure neighborhood in Arizona, they can extract anyone. They can reach into the homes of senators. They can reach into the homes of military commanders. They can reach into the homes of defense contractors. This is a dry run for a decapitation strike. Before a kinetic war begins in the Pacific or Eastern Europe, the first shots will be fired. They will be fired in American suburbs. They will paralyze the leadership by targeting their families. Inside the command center, the forensic teams are working around the clock. Investigators recovered a highly complex mixture of DNA from multiple individuals inside the Tucson home. It is currently undergoing advanced genetic testing, but DNA takes time. And time is the one resource the Bureau does not have. Every passing hour degrades the trail. Every passing hour gives the foreign sleeper cells more time to vanish. The $50,000 reward is a desperate move. It is pocket change to a state sponsor. It proves the authorities are grasping at straws in the dark. That is a bankrupt strategy. No nation on earth can afford to win that way. You cannot defend every single high-profile family in the United States with a permanent security detail. The cost would be astronomical. The logistics would be impossible. The enemy knows this. They are exploiting the ultimate asymmetric advantage. A $20,000 kidnapping operation forces the United States government to spend tens of millions of dollars on investigations, security upgrades, and internal purges. For every dollar the enemy spends, American taxpayers spend thousands today. But the nightmare does not end there. We have to look at the specific targeting. Why this family? Why now? The media is the fourth estate. It shapes public perception. It controls the narrative. If you can compromise the media elite, you can compromise the national response to a global crisis. Imagine a scenario where China blockades Taiwan. The United States needs a unified public to support a military intervention. But suddenly, the families of key media figures and politicians start disappearing. The ransom is not money. The ransom is silence. The ransom is compliance. This is hybrid warfare. This is not a theory. This is happening right now on American soil. The firing of the CI-12 unit is the smoking gun. You do not dismantle your counterintelligence shield unless you believe the shield itself has been compromised. Foreign operatives have likely penetrated the federal security apparatus. They knew the blind spots. They knew the local police would bungle the initial response. They knew the Bureau would be delayed. They executed a flawless extraction window. 96 hours of perfect operational security. The masked man on the porch was just the tip of the spear. Look very closely. He was a domestic cutout, a mercenary hired through encrypted channels. He probably never even met his handlers. He received his payment in untraceable cryptocurrency. He received his target package through a digital dead drop. He did the job. And then he became a liability. Foreign intelligence agencies do not leave loose ends. The man in that Google-recovered video is almost certainly dead. His body is buried deep in the Arizona desert. The DNA mixture in the house is a forensic nightmare designed to waste federal resources. It is a deliberate countermeasure to flood the zone with useless noise. They planted false flags. They left the heart medication to create a false sense of urgency. They pinged the cell phone 200 miles away at 0600 hours to send the tactical teams in the wrong direction. It was a classic misdirection play. While the authorities were looking 200 miles away, the real extraction team was moving the target through a completely different corridor. The operational discipline is terrifying. It mirrors the exact tactics used by Spetsnaz units during the Cold War. But this is not the Cold War. This is a hot shadow war happening now. The American public is completely unprepared for this level of infiltration. We are used to fighting wars overseas. We are used to projecting power across the oceans. We build $13 billion Ford-class aircraft carriers to secure the South China Sea. We deploy $4 million interceptor missiles to shoot down drones over the Red Sea. But all of that heavy metal is useless if the enemy is already inside the gates. You cannot park an aircraft carrier in Tucson. You cannot fire a cruise missile at a sleeper cell hiding deep in a suburban cul-de-sac neighborhood. The Department of Justice is scrambling. The internal polygraphs are tearing the agency apart. Trust is gone. When the director of the Bureau cannot trust his own counterespionage unit, the system has fundamentally collapsed. The enemy has achieved their primary objective without firing a single shot. They have induced systemic panic. They have proven that the American homeland is porous. And they have demonstrated that high-value civilian targets are completely defenseless against a state-sponsored snatch and grab operation. The failure to meet the May 10th ransom deadline is the final piece of the puzzle right here and now. It confirms the worst-case scenario. The target has outlived her operational usefulness to the puppet masters. The message has been successfully delivered. The federal government has been successfully humiliated. The internal security apparatus has been successfully fractured. The foreign handlers have likely terminated the operation and ordered their sleeper cells back into hibernation. They will wait. They will analyze the response data. They will refine their tactics. And then they will strike again. But next time, the target will not be an 84-year-old civilian. Next time, the target will be a highly valuable strategic military asset. They will go after the engineers who design our missile guidance systems. They will go after the logistics commanders who manage our global supply chains. They will go after the intelligence analysts who track their submarine fleets. The Guthrie kidnapping was merely a proof of concept. It was a rehearsal for the main event. The Bureau knows this. Kash Patel knows this. That is why the panic is real. They are looking at a geopolitical chessboard where the enemy has suddenly bypassed all the pawns and directly threatened the king. The old rules of engagement are now officially considered dead. We are witnessing the weaponization of domestic crime by foreign adversaries. They use local gangs and cartels as proxy forces. It provides total plausible deniability. If the authorities catch the kidnapper, they just catch a local thug. They never trace it back to Beijing or Moscow. The proxy war model has been brought to the American homeland. It is brilliant, it is ruthless, and it is working perfectly. The United States is bleeding resources, trying to solve a local crime that is actually an international act of war. We are playing checkers while they are playing three-dimensional combat chess. Look at the timeline again. February 1st. The extraction. 4 days of local incompetence. The Bureau finally takes over. 2 months of total silence. May 10th. The deadline expires. The crypto wallet remains empty. May 11th. The high-profile family member returns to national television. The psychological loop is closed. The public moves on to the next news cycle. But the intelligence community cannot move on. They are staring at a massive security failure. They are staring at a compromised agency. They are staring at a forensic profile they cannot match. They are completely outmatched and outmaneuvered right here now. Every single American needs to understand the gravity of this situation. The oceans no longer protect us. The sheer size of our military no longer protects us. The enemy has found the fatal flaw in our national armor. They have realized that the easiest way to defeat the United States is to tear it apart from the inside, to make our leaders afraid for their families, to make our institutions turn on themselves in a paranoid frenzy of polygraphs and purges. The foreign spies linked to this shocking VIP kidnapping have already won the first major battle of this war. They proved that the American homeland is a viable theater of operations. They proved that the Bureau can be blinded. They proved that the media can be manipulated. And they proved that they can vanish without a trace. The $50,000 reward is an insult to the scale of this threat. We are dealing with an adversary that measures success in geopolitical dominance, not dollars. The DNA evidence will likely lead to a dead end. The recovered video will only show a ghost. The true perpetrators are sitting in a secure facility thousands of miles away from us today. They are watching the panic unfold on American television. They are taking notes. They are preparing the next target package. The infiltration is complete. The sleeper cells are active. The federal government is chasing shadows in the desert, while the real threat prepares to strike at the heart of the nation. The kidnapping of Nancy Guthrie was not a tragedy. It was a warning. The only question left is who they will come for next. And what will you do when they arrive at your door?